Yeah, absolutely. So at Dynamic Training, as I mentioned, we predominantly work in the healthcare sector, and we have apprentices undertaking a sort of quite a range of different type of apprenticeship pathways. And the majority of our learners who have learning disabilities are undertaking either business and admin, customer service, facilities, or adult care apprenticeships, generally at level 2 or level 3. And then obviously we work with a lot of individuals who are neurodiverse as well, and may have some additional requirements for support because of their neurodiversity. So the key thing with endpoint assessment is, whilst the apprentice is on programme, that you have obviously done the assessment at the beginning to identify their needs and made reasonable adjustments throughout the programme. And the reason it's so important to demonstrate that the apprentice needs the reasonable adjustments and not wait till the end for endpoint assessment is because that evidence helps the endpoint assessment organisation to apply for any reasonable adjustments. So we need that evidence right from the beginning, from initial assessment all the way through to evidence that you have made reasonable adjustments throughout someone's journey. And then that will then inform and support the endpoint assessment organisation. And we've had some really positive experiences working with endpoint assessment organisations. We do ask, when we approach an endpoint assessment organisation, we call it EPAO just for short. We do ask, when we approach them, if they're willing to work in collaboration and partnership with us, because we are very keen to support individuals with additional needs, and therefore we need the endpoint assessment organisation to also be on board with us. So that's the key first thing when we approach any EPAO. We also, what we found from that is that our endpoint assessment organisations are keen to learn with us. So that's that partnership, you know, learning together, and we meet them regularly, and we talk about needs, etc. So that preparation for the endpoint assessment organisation is really important. Not that last minute, or this person needs reasonable adjustments. It is identifying those needs as early as possible, so the endpoint assessment organisation can identify an assessor who has maybe some specialism, or who will meet the learner in advance. And we have that quite a bit. Some of our learners with additional needs have anxiety as well. So actually it helps to break down those barriers, that just having this random person coming in and doing an assessment. If the endpoint assessor meets with that individual a week or a couple of weeks beforehand and talks through what's going to happen, then that helps alleviate anxiety. And that's one of the key things actually that we find that needs to be put in place as an adjustment, to ensure that the individual feels calmer and more prepared for what's going to happen for endpoint assessment, but also to have that little bit of that relationship with the endpoint assessor.